Hi everyone. Okay, yeah, this is weird. It's weird to, it's weird to have to make this video. Um, okay, I have been kind of putting this off for a while now. I'm gay. Nice to meet you. Yeah. As of February 18th, I will have been out of the closet for 6 years now. Realizing that and kind of taking that in made me recognize that I've had an extremely positive coming out experience over the years. I've never faced any violence. I've never really faced any bullying. As far as I know, I haven't been denied opportunities because of me expressing who I am. I realized that it would be important for me to share my story because even when I came out and I had such a positive experience, I didn't have any LGBT role models that I could look up to. At least no one that I was actively thinking about. I know that there were some people in my life or in the media that I recognized and I respected or I looked up to, but I never thought, wow, that person did something that I also am feeling, or that person is like me, so I should be like that person. So I just wanted to quickly share my coming out experience with you and then kind of look back over the years. Aside from that, this month I'm going to be releasing a few different videos related to LGBT issues and this kind of experience I've had because I think it's important. You know, the idea in my mind is that, if one person sees it who it helps, I did something. So anyway, without further ado, when I came out of the closet, I was 15 years old. I came out in my hometown of Lake Zurich, Illinois. At the time, I was dating a girl named Erica Smolier. She's still a great friend of mine. Up until that point, I had dated girls, I had done the whole thing. As that went on, for some reason, I got the inspiration to come out during my freshman year of high school. Looking back, I really don't know what actually flipped it and said, okay, it's time to do it. It felt like this moment of blind courage where you're just like, oh, here we go, it's happening, I hadn't actually thought too much about it yet. For whatever reason, I was like, well, I guess it's time. I did recognize that I was gay pretty early on in my life. It was in middle school at some point, and it just kind of dawned on me. But I remember distinctly thinking, that's not the way I'm gonna live my life, of course. Even if that's true, no, I'm still gonna get married to a woman, I'm gonna have kids, it's gonna be totally normal and fine. Well, oops. But anyway, so I then go through middle school and then get into high school, and then the moment comes. I was really lucky to be involved in my theater department at the time, and so I had a lot of really supportive voices around me for when I did come out. But leading up to that moment, it was really just my small group of friends, and I didn't really know what to do. The first person I came out to was one of my best friends, Monica. This story is funnier than I think. We were watching Lord of the Rings, and at one point, Monica and her mom was there too. They had mentioned how someone in Lord of the Rings, I'm not sure who it was hot. They were like, oh, he's hot. And I was like, oh, yeah, he is. As if, kind of joking, kind of oh, whatever. Then Monica kind of offhandedly made a joke, oh, are you bisexual? Not really a joke. I guess she was maybe really asking, but I just kind of brushed it off. I didn't say anything, and no one asked further about it. Then later that night, I texted Monica and I said, hey, look, so remember when you asked me if I was bisexual? Yeah, I am. So that was an insane moment. I can't even remember. I remember I was sitting on this couch in my room, and I remember I pressed the button. I was like, what just happened? How? That's crazy. But anyway, so I came out to her. I came out to a couple more friends, but I still hadn't come out to my then girlfriend at the time. I was really afraid to come out to her because I didn't want to hurt her feelings. I didn't want her to be upset, but so I kind of held off there. But Then the next bear to tackle was my family, specifically just telling my dad. So I finally sit down with my dad at one point and I go, Dad, I think I'm gay. My dad then says, oh, I think you are too. Why do you think so? In one of the greatest responses that it could have been. No, but so then after that, he hugged me for a long time, and he was accepting. I mean, there was no issue realistically. I know that my dad was worried though, because he's worried like, am I gonna fit in? Like when you're thinking about your child, you're like, is your child gonna fit into society now, or what's gonna happen? Anyway, he was worried, but he has only become more supportive over the years. He started out in a place of like very supportive and has only grown from that point, which is all I could ever ask from a parent. Then at that point, I felt like I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to tell Erica. And so that was the day I consider officially coming out, because I came out to my dad, and then in that night I decided I was going to tell her as well. And the way that happened was I was texting her and I told her I have something to tell her, and she got worried and said, are you breaking up with me? And I read that text and I was like, and I think I said something back like, not exactly. And so then she goes, are you gay? There it is. And I was like, yeah. She then called me and she was like screaming out of happiness. And she was telling me how excited she was and how happy she was that I told her and everything. And like, it was just that moment of like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it automatically went to like, oh my God, whew, thank goodness. It was like, that was the one I was so worried about hurting her, because I did and do still care about her so much that I didn't want that to be a problem. But she was so supportive. And truthfully, in probably a year or two later, she had told me that, in that moment, she actually wasn't that happy. I mean, she was happy for me, but she was sad for herself, of course. I mean, we had been dating for however long we'd been dating, and, she was bummed, but she pretended like she was 100% happy, that she was 100% supportive. And like, to this day, that has to be one of the nicest things anyone has ever done for me. But anyway, at that point when I told Erica, it was pretty much like, okay, let the gates loose, here we go. Everyone can know now. So the news seemed to spread pretty quickly, because I remember specifically walking into school the next day, like I felt like everyone was looking at me. At one point I noticed that people were looking at me, truthfully. I was walking into the school and I hadn't got to like the main part, we would like meet in the cafeteria. I saw this group of guys like look over at me, even though I hadn't seen them, talk, and then they looked over, but I made eye contact with them, and then they like shut down, and it was like, in my mind, whether or not they were, and I'm pretty sure they were, but whether or not they were talking about me in my mind. And I had this like moment of like absolute panic of like, oh my God, holy cow, this is happening. And then I don't know what it was specifically. I don't know what thought came into my head or whatever, but I had this like moment of clarity, and I realized like it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter at all. Like, those people don't affect your life. I took a breath. I kept walking. And from that moment, I recognized like what self-confidence was. From that moment, I realized like, just keep walking. Either way, then from there, I had a really great experience. I had a lot of people tell me how, supportive they were, how proud they were. But yeah, so my family was really wonderful and really accepting. So I was a part of my GSA, Gay Straight Alliance at my school. I ended up running, and with a good friend of mine, Casey, we ended up leading the group during my sophomore year. By my junior year, I was president, and then I was still involved my senior year as well. And so it was really wonderful to be a part of a group like that and actually go from being someone who didn't know what they were doing or didn't have any role models or whatever, to being able to be a leader in that kind of sense and talk to other young people who are going through that kind of situation. I also was a part of different LGBT youth groups in my area. Going to those youth groups still helped a lot to just meet other people who were going through similar things that I was, even though I wasn't really thinking about them, and just sharing stories and learning a lot at the same time. So those were really helpful, even though I felt like, oh, I'm good, I don't need that kind of thing, but those support groups are really, really beneficial to young people. Anyway, I wanted to make a video like this because I was so lucky to go through such a positive experience, and that's not the case for so many people. There's still tons of stigma in just coming out, even in safe environments, but for the people who are in unsafe environments, there's still a lot of support and work that needs to be done there. A point that I think doesn't get made enough to a lot of people, because when people come out, all they say is, oh, it was so great, I feel so much better, blah, 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 which is true. When I came out, it was amazing. I was so glad I did it. I don't think anyone who's ever come out really said, like, it hurt me to come out in terms of myself, you know? But the reality is that for some people, coming out is not going to be the safest thing for them to do in that moment. So as you go through life and you recognize, okay, I am gay, and you're still in the closet, you do have to do what's the safest thing for you. And you have to recognize that coming out is an individual experience. Coming out doesn't mean, oh, now my entire town knows, like it was for me. Coming out means whatever it is to you. If that means that telling your one best friend, that's fine. If that means telling a stranger on the internet, that's fine. It doesn't have to mean you tell your parents. It doesn't have to mean this or that. You have to take the time for yourself, and you have to recognize, how am I going to do this safely? How am I going to, have a positive experience with this? When I came out of the closet, I know for a fact that 1/4 of all homeless youth was LGBT kids. So even when I came out of the closet 6 years ago, 25% of American youth who were homeless were kids who got kicked out because they said they were not straight. So the overall point I'd like to make, being from someone who's been out of the closet for 6 years, is do things on your own terms. Take time for yourself, and there are resources out there to help. The real truth is that life doesn't necessarily get better magically, but you get better. As you grow and you learn, you get better. So if you are someone who's in the LGBT community, but you have not come out yet, first off, there are people that care even if they don't know you, even if they've never met you, because they recognize what it's like to be you. So they do care. I'm one of those people. I'm definitely here for anyone who's going through any kind of issue of this matter. So I'm definitely here for anyone to talk or to answer questions. And actually, just to say this now, in one of my future videos, I'd like to do a question and answer with me about LGBT-related issues. I want to be able to answer questions that people have for themselves or have about a community that they're not a part of. So yeah, send in those questions if you have any, and I'd love to be able to do a video on that sometime very soon. But anyway, please send in those questions and share this video, because you don't know who in your life could be struggling with something like this. And just so you know, I'm going to put some links in the bio down below to different support websites and groups and etc. for you to check out in case you're in search of those. So, and of course, give it a big thumbs up. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.